and welcome to my channel Inspiring Life Changes. My name is Colette and I'm here today to do a reading for the full moon, super full moon that has just taken place earlier on today in the UK, yesterday in other parts of the world. So big energy, big energy. I put an astrology readout yesterday as well, talking about how the enormity and the intensity of this reading, or sorry, this full moon energy cannot be stressed enough. It is super powerful, even though there may be people saying, you know, who don't understand astrology, shall we say, you know, that it's only a super moon because it's close to the earth. But if you understand where the moon is and everything else that is going on around it at this time as well, you will know that this is a powerfully supercharged full moon that's going to have a huge effect for some time to come, not least because of the Uranian energy that's involved in this as well. So this is a reading, a tarot reading, to try and understand some of that energy that is taking place at this time, an intuitive tarot reading. So the Scorpio full moon can be kind of better understood in a way, hopefully. So if you're interested in the astrology, there will be a link in the description box down below for you to go and check that out. I usually say as a natal birth chart, but it doesn't have to be. It could just be that you want to find out more about what's happening in the skies at this time. So I'm starting the reading off in this collective read. Actually, I will actually start with these cards because I forgot to start with these yesterday. So what we have is the super full moon, where emotions are running high, and they certainly will be. And I was thinking earlier to myself, because the sun has not been out at all today and it's quite cloudy where I am, so unless it clears we won't actually get to see the full moon in the sky. But the kind of rain and the cloudiness and such has kind of possibly kept people more subdued, because if it had been really hot and really kind of hot and people out and about, the full moon, super full moon, could have had a bigger effect on people's emotionally charged energies at this time, shall we say. So we have the Scorpio full moon here saying it's time to release negativity. All full moons are about releasing. Something comes to a culmination. It's about letting that energy go. With Scorpio, it's specifically about negativity, because Scorpio does have a sting in its tail, and it does, or can, like to get its own back, shall we say. There can be a kind of a streak of revengefulness within the Scorpio energy as well. Again, if you're interested, I have done the astrology read, which is up on my channel. Full moon energy itself, as I was saying, surrender to the divine. Something is coming to a close, something is coming to a head. So just allow whatever is coming into your life at this time to be. Just don't try and fight it, don't try and change it. Just kind of accept that this is where you are and that that's okay. And lastly, with the fixed moon energy, because it's taking place in the sign of Scorpio, a fixed sign, it's saying hold your vision. Keep whatever it is that you're hoping for, whatever it is that you're wishing to see happen, hold that vision. Don't let that kind of don't let that energy be taken away from you at this time. So whatever it is that you feel strongly about, hold on to that. as a visionary energy. So the card that I'm starting the reading off with for the Scorpio full moon is taken from the Celestial Gallery meditation deck, which is actually behind me here. And this card is chakra. And it says, drawn from the Hindu tantric tradition, this painting depicts the symbolic forces of the chakras that in their untransformed state confine us to a life of instinct, which is quite Scorpionic in its own way as well, because Scorpio is about transformation, and it is also going beyond that instinct of the Scorpio to sting back, because the Scorpio or Scorpion energy has three or the Scorpio energy, sorry, should I say, has three different aspects to it. It can be seen as the Scorpio, which is the lower energy. Then there's the Eagle energy, which is kind of that higher vibrational energy of the Scorpio, the transformation. And then there is the final one, which is the Phoenix, where you're kind of really rising above it all. So once awakened, these same potent energies, the lotus of the first, the coiled serpent of the second, and so on, become vehicles for attaining our innermost potential. Learn to make this unseen world seen. In its essence, consciousness has no mind or body. Go beyond your conceptual and intellectual mind. Meditate and dissolve your elementary body to see this spiritual body clearly. Once you truly see, enlightenment can be conceived. Awaken all the chakras and realize you are actually an enlightened being entangled in this realm of Maya, the material world. And so the card itself is talking about spiritual anatomy. And each of these symbols running up the center of the body is a different energetic chakra connected to different parts of the body system. If you're interested, there is lots of information out there about the chakra system, but it is quite interesting in the sense that it is quite Scorpionic energy. Again, using it's that transforming something. It's taking something from the base energy and turning it into an energy that is higher vibrationary and therefore kind of a purer type of energy. So big energy for this Scorpio full moon, and big energy on the table with the cards. I cannot believe how many cards have come out, and the cards that they actually are as well. So we are starting the actual tarot read off with the World card here. I haven't used these cards for a while, but I really was kind of drawn to them today with the whole Greek myth thing. So the World is talking about something ending and something beginning. It is the closure of a cycle, something coming to a completion, which with this full moon would make a lot of sense. Something is completing in our lives. But this is on a bigger scale as well. This is on a kind of collective energy of something ending, that we have reached a point. And I keep talking about that point of no return. And we're still kind of heading into that new cycle that we are starting now. But this kind of thing never comes with like trumpets and fanfares. There's nobody kind of standing around going like, you know, this is the new start of the world, so to speak. So it isn't until later on when we look back and we can see where we've come from and the changes that have occurred. And also with the World card as well, you got this snake with his own tail in his mouth here. The Ouroboros, I do believe he's called. And we also have all of the elements around the side here, which actually represents all of the fixed signs as well. and the material realm. And in the center we have this being that is neither male or female. It is hermaphrodite. And it's kind of saying that we have all these elements within us. All of us are both masculine and feminine. There is no separation. We may have obvious traits of more of one than the other, but ultimately we are, it's kind of coming through as we all have this same energy. We all have this same life force within us, and that it's the life force that kind of separates itself into these two separate energies. And so we have the masculine and the feminine energy being balanced out here. And over the top of this world card we have the Hierophant. And the Hierophant in this particular deck is Chiron, the healer, the wounded healer. And he's inside this cave. And one of the reasons that he's inside the cave is because he was embarrassed about who he was, how he looked. When he came out at birth, he was abandoned by his mother, who didn't like the look of him at all. But in doing so, she kind of set the tone for the rest of his life, and he became very much a sympathetic, empathic, compassionate, loving energy who actually went on to heal everybody else except his own wound. And that's kind of what it's representing here. It's kind of representing for me that there is this woundedness within our own psyche here that we need to heal. That it's not about this kind of division which we're seeing a lot of. It's more about accepting that everyone has wounds. Everyone's coming from a wounded place within themselves, generationally, family-wise, karmically, if you believe in reincarnation. We're all carrying this wound. We've all got this something somewhere. And so we're all kind of in this same energetic place at this time, all trying to heal these wounds, particularly after what we've just been through for this last year and a bit. There has been a lot of healing taking place on a deeper, more kind of psychological level, because the Hierophant for me also talks about going into the dark as well. He holds this scroll in his hand, which is kind of information that is yet to be given. Knowledge that is yet to be passed on, because he's very wise, this Chiron Hierophant character. And the cave for me also represents the kind of inner world, dealing with the inner world. Only by dealing with the inner world can we find that balance and change our outer world. Is how it's coming through here. And so, as I was saying, a lot of cards, a lot of energy, like this for instance, which is in our head and what we're aware of. We have the Empress energy, which is all about, for me, the planet herself, permanently pregnant with potential. But there's also a sense of freedom in this card that's coming through today as well. A sense of freedom to be who you are. And that everyone who's here on this planet today has all got here in the same way. We've all had to go through the birthing process to get here. We all have a mother in our lives, or a mother figure, or somebody who has given birth to us. And the earth kind of is a representation of that as well. It's like the earth represents that energy of constantly kind of nurturing us, keeping us well looked after. Giving us everything we need, really. Everything we need is there for us. And yet at the same time, with this Hermit card over the top as well, I'm feeling like this is, because this is what's in our head and what we're aware of, and it is like we have been in this Hermit stage. And sometimes we have to kind of be put in this Hermit energy here. Because it's only, again, it feels very similar to this kind of Hierophant energy in the inner world, going within, trying to find that light to guide you. And we do actually have the Sun energy here as well. But also with that scythe, it's coming over as very Pluto energy and very Scorpio energy, actually, in the kind of sense of shrouding and mystery and not everything being revealed at once. Transformation that is taking place within this Hermit himself as well. And also cutting out what no longer works in our lives. Having to realise, having to kind of look and see. He's also coming over a bit like the Grim Reaper. But it is actually the Hermit energy. But he's using that scythe, or he does use that scythe, to cut through what no longer is needed in our lives, what is extra, like baggage, carrying around too much with us. On an energetic level, kind of chopping that out, removing it from our lives. It can also be on a physical level as well, if we have a lot of stuff around us, a lot of accumulated material gains, holding on to things that we no longer need. And from the Empress energy and the Hermit energy, we have the King of Pentacles in the middle. And this is kind of saying to me that this King of Pentacles is upside down, because we have the Sun and the Judgment after this as well. This is big energy, and it feels a bit like what we have just had to go through and experience for ourselves. It's like growing up. There is a maturity here with this Hermit energy as well. It's kind of a learning, a big lesson, a big understanding, learning things on a deeper level, bigger level, going beyond where we've been so far in our understanding of ourselves and our society, everything outside and inside, and also in a way realizing that our outer world is because of our corresponding inner world. And also, where do we put our focus and our attention? because the King of Pentacles can also be an energy of achievement, but achievement at what expense, at what price. We've got where we've got to, but what have we had to pay along the way? What are we paying along the way? Are we, and it feels like we're kind of coming to some realization here as well. Because the King of Pentacles just wants to, he wants success, he wants to achieve, he wants to, and it's a bit like Capricorn energy. It doesn't kind of know when to stop in a way. It's like it wants, like the goat, like the mountain goat, just wants to keep climbing and climbing and climbing until it reaches that pinnacle. And yet every time he reaches that pinnacle, it kind of looks around and there's another pinnacle to be found. So he has to keep on going. And it also feels, because this is Midas, and in Greek mythology, everything that Midas touched turned to gold, which sounds like it could be a great thing, but it kind of limited him from everything. He couldn't hug people, he couldn't, like, it's like, you know, what is your value system here? What is more important? Is it all this gold that you can accumulate, all this wealth that you can accumulate, or is it also, you know, the more simple things in life, like being able to hug our children, grandparents, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, human beings in general, friends? Is this of more value? Because we have the sun energy after this as well. So it feels as though there's kind of some clarity coming in here, some understanding. Like some breakthroughs. Like, because if you see his head, he's got all these kind of spiky bits coming out, and it feels like these kind of how can I put it? It's like his head illumination. I know what I want to say. It's just putting it into words. Almost like when the chakra system, when this chakra system becomes aligned, it's like the opening of the third eye and the crown chakra. It's a similar, that's what I'm getting from this, is kind of crown chakra energy. Also with the sun kind of standing in front of this gateway as well, I always see the gateway as being like an kind of a passing through from one energy into another energy. So it's like, again, leaving that past behind and moving into a new future, a new beginning, a new story, a new wisdom, new knowledge. And of course the sun was actually taught in Greek mythology. It was Chiron, the Hierophant, the wounded healer, who taught Apollo, the sun god, everything that he learnt, everything he knew. So for me, there's like this sense of kind of maturing, growing, learning more about ourselves on a deeper level, coming to some kind of major realizations. Could also have something to do with like the Uranian energy that's around at this time as well, like shocking experiences that are coming that kind of are going to really wake people up as well, like really, because the sun is about to cross over Uranus as well very soon. I think it's the 30th of April that the sun and Uranus will be meeting up, and that is just going to be huge, which is another reason for this full moon being so intense as well, because they're already conjunct, so that energy is all in play. So it could also have something to do with that kind of realization, that kind of shocking understanding that kind of awakens and brings things to light and kind of drags them out of the dark. Because after that we also have the Judgment card here as well, which is literally talking about kind of putting things to rest. For me, the Judgment card is calling up the ghosts from the past, and this is Mercury, or Hermes as he was known. But Mercury is also another player in this energy at this time. He's also going to be conjunct, or has just, sorry, been conjunct with Uranus at this time as well. So he was conjunct on the 23rd, I think, 24th maybe. And he is still conjunct at this time of this full moon energy. So he is dragging up this past for us to kind of look at, I feel, kind of how far we have come. And the ghosts of our past as well. And with everything that's going on at this time as well, I would also say that it could also have something to do with literally having to let people go. That we don't have a choice. That people are going to make decisions, and those decisions are going to go one way or another. And also, are they making these decisions from the right place? Like the wisdom and the knowledge and the understanding. Because that is the challenge at this time, is to have this greater insight, this greater wisdom, understanding, knowing. Because the Hierophant is also pointing to the light here as well. And bringing the light in, which of course is this sun energy as well. And so it could also be a case here of, like, if you look, like I was saying about this gateway here being into the next energy that's coming in, like leaving one energy behind and kind of moving forward into a new energy, a new time, situation, change, because so much is going to change so rapidly and so fast. This is kind of representing that for me. It's also, I'm also seeing that as this kind of opening here. So it's like, this is the garden, and again, if you look, you can see the same waterfall in the background here as well. You see that? There's a waterfall there, and there's a waterfall here as well. So it's kind of representing the same thing for me, that this is the garden, like the Garden of Eden in a way. Everything that we had, everything that we have, even today, that maybe we don't appreciate enough. Maybe we don't, you know, maybe we take it for granted that it will always be there, the way that it is now. But I'm seeing this here as being the place that we want to get back to. It's like these ghosts, these these mummies that are rising up, they kind of represent that past energy for me, and a sense of forgiveness as well. And he's also got this caduceus here in his hand, which literally represents our DNA and can also represent the chakra system as well, the Kundalini energy, awakening that Kundalini energy. I've lost one card, okay, so let's put that back there. And so the energy that we're moving away from, because all of that's what's in our head and what we're aware of, and it feels like, you know, we're in this place of kind of realizing that things are changing here, and also that it's down to us rather than an outside force, which is kind of what the Hermit is saying for me here as well. But we have the Two of Pentacles in the energy that's moving away from us, where we have been for a while, the energy that we've been in and working with. The Two of Pentacles in reverse. For me, the Two of Pentacles is always, again, it's about this shift of energies, like backwards and forwards, past, future energy, wanting to move forward, but maybe being stuck at this time. Time maybe not be the right time for us to move forward. But he's standing there at this table with all his kind of tools in front of him, ready to experience, ready to kind of grow his business and his like livelihood and his craftsmanship. And this is exactly what over the last year and however long we have kind of had to step aside from a lot of this. And for me, again, this kind of represents that world of stability, environment, knowing that things are how, like when you leave them, you go back, they're still going to be there in exactly the same way. But because it's in reverse here, it's kind of saying that that's not the case. And a lot of people have lost, which could also be this card here as well. A lot of loss, a lot of businesses being lost, a lot of livelihoods, a lot of people no longer able to do what they've done before. And the King of Pentacles is very much also, when he's upright, it's very much about looking after his kind of family and he's like his clan. I'm getting the word clan. I don't know why I'm getting the word clan, but I am. It's that kind of like, you know, extended family as well when he's upright, because he's very, very giving. He wants to share. But when he's in this position, it's like being put into a position of not being able to give as much as he would want to give, because the circumstances are no longer the same. So that's what the Two of Pentacles is talking to me about. And then in the subconscious, we have another 5 cards, which are quite interesting as well. Lot of major arcana cards in this reading. Huge amounts of major arcana cards, which is why I think it's just such a huge energy. I don't usually get this many arcana cards in one reading. And we literally have, just with these cards alone at the moment, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 major arcana cards on the table. Admittedly, there is quite a few cards on the table, but still quite a few big energies. So we have to start with the Ace of Swords. And this is the subconscious level. This is what we're not so aware of. And this feels to me like a storm brewing in the background. And like we are feeling defensive, like we're feeling like we're having to kind of defend ourselves in some way. This could also be, that sword could also be the sword of truth, of understanding. This is actually Athena, or Justice, in her kind of more mortal form, shall we say. The goddess of justice and truth, wisdom, but it's a very barren and very cold card to me, this one. There's not a lot of warmth in it, there's not a lot of giving in it. It's harsh, and this is kind of how I feel that on some kind of deeper level we're feeling this harshness. We're feeling on a subconscious level life is harsh, and it feels like it's getting harsher, with the Ace of Swords being the first energy, the first new energy, if you like. The aces are always a new energy that come in, to do with the mind, because it's swords. But it's feeling like she's in a very defensive stance there, like ready to go to battle, ready to take something on. And we have the Knight of Cups after the Ace of Swords, and they are very different energies, hugely different energies. This is very much more nurturing and like heart chakra energy in many ways. The Knight of Cups, he wants love, he wants to give love, he wants to receive love, he just wants to find the person who he can have that perfect world with. And there's a lot of kind of troubles and difficulties around that at this time. The Knight of Cups is in love with love. He loves the idea of love. He may find it difficult to actually come forward as well. He can also feel like a fish out of water. He can also feel as though he doesn't fit in, as though it's not his, because he's a very gentle energy, a very kind of, how can I put it, romantic, almost idyllically romantic energy. And so the truth of it can be very harsh. The truth of what he finds, what he discovers, particularly when it comes to love and getting hurt. But it doesn't feel like that so much as just kind of wanting to be, but it's it's like realizing how harsh things are, and that's difficult to cope with. For some it could be even worse. But that's the kind of sense of the fish out of water type of energy, like I don't fit in here, I don't belong in this energy, it's not the right energy for me. And so this could also have something to do with the harshness of the reality, kind of seeing the reality as it actually is, as opposed to this kind of more gentle, loving energy of kind of things, somebody wanting to take care of you, or take care of you, look after you, take care of your emotional needs and your every want. Because after this we have the Wheel of Fortune, which again is that inner energy. It's like the Wheel of Fortune is here inside a cave, and again we've got this outer view of where we want to be, of a world that we would like to be able to move towards. But the Wheel of Fortune with these three sisters here, it's all about life itself. It's like this thread represents our life, and it's kind of being woven in a way, kind of, or yeah, it's the story of what we weave in our life, how we kind of, you know, take this thread of our life and what we do with it, how we create what we create. But also, and it's interesting because I was earlier on today kind of given this really strong idea, like dropped into my head, and I think it's very apt for this particular card, because it was saying to me, you know, I am responsible for my karma. Like, nobody else is responsible for my karma. Nobody else is responsible for my world. Nobody else is responsible for the actions that I take, which basically karma means action. So whatever I choose to do is my choice. And the Wheel of Fortune is kind of representing that energy for me today as well, with this kind of world energy here as well. It is my choice. And because this is in the deeper subconscious and hasn't yet kind of become consciously aware, this is the root energy, this is where we're coming from. It kind of feels as though we are heading towards this place of understanding something on a much, much deeper level. Because again, it's got these 4 characters around this wheel here, and each one of these, it's like every time this thread is pulled, this wheel turns, and as it turns, these characters shift fortune, literally. It's like if you're at the top, you can become at the bottom just as soon. So it's kind of saying that, you know, the wheel is constantly turning, this karmic wheel that we all are on. And the thing is knowing that you are the very center of this wheel, rather than kind of being on the outside here and just kind of being used as some kind of victim or guinea pig, or just allowing things to take over your life. It's like saying, you know, you are this center energy, and each one of these spokes is kind of like a thought that you put out there that creates what you're creating. So for me, it is about this sense of responsibility and recognizing that we are creating our karma as we go. And we have been doing that for not just this lifetime either, because it's coming through quite, again, that Scorpio energy of transformation and kind of changing on a deeper level, seeing things on a deeper level, like birth, death and rebirth, the reincarnating wheel that is ever turning. Okay, so we have the Two of Cups after that. Two of Cups being an energy of relationships, people coming together, that initial attraction, that wanting more, seeing somebody, that kind of, you know, attracting moment of like seeing somebody and thinking, oh, you look really interesting, or I'd like to get to know you better. But in reverse, it's been a lot of, you know, a lot of that possibly could also have been karmic, that we have been through a lot of karmic relationships, because at the moment Venus is also behind the Sun and she's been there for some time, but we've also had a lot of Venus retrogrades. Relationships are just in a weird place at this time, also because of everything that's happening. It's not as easy to just kind of walk up to somebody and ask them out on a date as it used to be. I think people are a lot more wary of the connection that they make with people these days. And with the moon here as well, there is a lot of confusion around all of this. All of this energy here is very confusing. Like things not being revealed, particularly when the moon is in reverse for me. It kind of talks more about new moon energy than full moon energy. But the world could also be talking about things that are playing out on the world stage at this time as well. Things that we are actually going to see manifest on the world stage. But the moon, confusion, being kept in the dark about something, not having all the information we need, things appearing differently than they actually are, or being told something is different to how it actually is, which again adds to the confusion. What's going on in our lives. Also a sense of like, you know, am I going mad because I don't know if this is actual reality? Am I making this up? It's that kind of like, you know, if you look back on the last year and a half, and if you told yourself back then everything that you know now, you know, would you believe yourself? Would you believe anybody else if they were telling you as well? Because that's another thing as well. It's like, you know, this kind of communication here. It has been being communicated, but for a long time people have been trying to warn of what's taking place in the world at this time. So we have the star energy as the place that we're moving into, the energy that's coming in. The star energy here is in reverse, saying to me that there's a lot that we've still got to go through. That's what all these like insects, this is Pandora, who opened the box and let all the suffering out into the world, which is kind of what I feel we've been through. We've been going through all of this suffering. Again, that could also have something to do with this Wheel of Fortune energy as well. in the sense that kind of when things are set into motion by decisions that we make as well, then it may not, you know, it's like it carries on going. It's like an action that we take that keeps having more effect on a bigger scale. And so the Star of Hope here is saying to me that there is this kind of general feeling of things kind of losing optimism and losing their, literally losing hope. When people look around them at this time, they're not finding much joy. They're not finding things to be optimistic about. And it could feel as though we're just going to be kind of bombarded more and more and more with all this kind of stuff, this kind of, but it feels like it's going to speed up to me. It feels as though it's going to be kind of coming at us so fast. It's like overwhelm. It's too much. But at the very bottom of this chest here, after all of this is released from Pandora's box, we find the Star of Hope herself. It's kind of buried underneath all of that crap. And that's kind of what I'm feeling here at this time. It's kind of that energy of it all being kind of buried. The hope, the joy, seeing things for the benefit, for the good of something. Because there's just so much to deal with. But this is a big karmic energy, a big karmic, not just this full moon in Scorpio, although I think that this full moon in Scorpio is going to kick off a lot of stuff. But it's like all of this energy that has been leading up to this point of where we are now, because it is connected with like generational history as well, like wounding, healing, clearing out our emotional closets. And also, as difficult as it is as well, you know, that karmically, as I was saying, you know, we are responsible for our karma, for our choices in life, whether they be difficult choices of having to lose people that we love, which could also be this Knight of Cups energy as well. The sense of kind of things losing what we love, what we hold dear. So the Eight of Swords is next, which I feel is where we're like collectively at, is feeling in this. We've got Apollo here, feeling like we're trapped in this energy here with all these swords around us. Again, swords being the mental realm. It's like a sense of what do we do next? What's the right thing to do? Because in this card, Apollo is coming through as a kind of beneficiary energy. Like if you think of the sun, its warmth, its lights, we couldn't live without it. If the sun was to disappear, the world, Earth would probably die out very, well, it would die out very, very quickly, or it would have to change dramatically in a very short space of time. But here, he's in more of a kind of authoritarian, like too much, too authoritarian, too, if you see, he's kind of looking down at this character here. And so it feels to me, this card, like today, stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because you've got all these furies here as well, who have been kind of released by his action, this character's action here, which for me is us collectively. And so we've got this authoritarian kind of, I would say, governance kind of energy, people that tell us what to do, how to do it, when to do it, why to do it, how we should do it, and kind of basically want to control our lives. And then on this side there's kind of all these, that they're kind of the furies, and you can take them for being kind of whatever you want, but they're a sense of to the Greeks, the Furies were an energy that you would drive yourself mad with. Like if you did something really karmically kind of wrong, then these characters would appear. And they would have the ability to drive you mad with your own thoughts and your own kind of constantly going over the same thing and not being able to get beyond it. So they believed that these were responsible for insanity in many ways, that they could literally drive people to the brink of madness, which is kind of where this character's at this time. He doesn't know how to escape, he doesn't know what's the right thing to do. But interestingly, with the Eight of Swords, nearly all of the Eights of Swords are the same, is that his escape route is actually behind him. He only has to turn around and walk away, which is kind of like taking that responsibility, taking that action to stand up and take responsibility for his own livelihood, his own well-being, his life in general. But because he's so trapped and caught up in these two energies, he can't see. He's just so kind of focused on that moment. He's so kind of focused on being trapped or believing that he's trapped. He's managed to convince himself that he is trapped, that there is no escape. He can't get out of this one. And we have the Ace of Cups in reverse after this, which again, Ace of Cups is the love card, it is Aphrodite, it is Venus, and Venus at this time, as I was saying, is behind the sun, so she is hidden from us. We don't see her either as a morning or an evening star. Venus represents love, it represents our values. Also represents relationships, but it can also represent how we feel about ourselves. What are our values? What do we value ourselves enough to give what we need to ourselves? Do we value ourselves, our life, and our emotions in many ways to do the right thing, to in many ways kind of say no to this situation here? Do we have that capability? Can we find that love within ourselves, because that energy is in the kind of space of how other people view the situation. So I'm kind of seeing this as, again, that collective energy, maybe to do with the lack of love at this time, that love is missing from our lives. But again, that can go back to needing to give it to ourselves first. That could be part of the lessons that we are learning here at this time as well. But this isn't about finding it outside, but this is also about us finding that balance within ourselves, feeding our needs, our like our creativity and our emotions, finding that balance, bringing it all together. And because the Nine of Wands is in our place of hopes and fears, and the Nine of Wands here is literally about us kind of not being able to, it's very similar to this Eight, in fact, of Swords in a way, of like seeing where the future is, seeing where we want to be, which is here. This kind of represents that future energy, that place that we're trying to get to. Also kind of walking through this energy here in order to be able to leave the past behind. But this boat keeps bringing us back, and that's why I'm kind of seeing it as similar to this energy here, this kind of all this storminess here. There's something that keeps dragging us back, something that keeps, like, won't let us through this kind of rocky, stormy gap here. Like the ship is being battered, and the ship represents life, it represents us for me, but it's kind of being battered off these rocks. And so the more we try to kind of steer this boat and fight this energy here, which could also represent kind of the emotional upheaval at this time as well. Because it feels like very close to what we want, very close to what we're hoping for, which is represented by this lit up in the background, this kind of island heading towards this new future, this new hope, this new beginning. And it's also kind of represented by this, all these kind of like beasts, insects, annoying things. It's kind of how it's coming through, like annoyance, like just these things that just keep coming annoyingly at us for us to deal with, and we don't want to. It could also be that we've had enough, that we've just had enough of it all, and we just don't feel as though it's ever going to stop. Interestingly as well, there is a wing there in the background, which kind of represents or looks kind of familiar to a bat, but the more less said about that the better. So yeah, there's this energy of trying to break free, break away from, break out of, which is similar to this as well, but it's us kind of keeping ourselves trapped. In this card, I always feel as though it's because we're trying too hard to hold on to something, to kind of make something happen or work the way that we want it to. So we're we keep kind of bashing ourselves off of those rocks because of it, because we're kind of, and it feels almost like as well that we're kind of determined to drag the past with us, shall we say, like not allow changes to occur, trying to keep things as they have been, bring our past into our future. And to end with, we have the Three of Wands and the Three of Pentacles, which are very similar energies again. In this card, he's being given an opportunity. He needs to be able to take a risk in order for it to work out for him, though. It's about trusting. Trusting. It's interesting as well because he's being offered a crown here. But he doesn't actually know who he is. He knows who he is, but he doesn't actually know who he is. But there's been this prophecy that he will turn up. He is actually the son of a king, and this is a usurper here. He stole the crown from, it's actually his father, I believe. He stole the crown from. And the purple, if you see here, the purple kind of represents that energy of power, of somebody who, because purple is always seen as that kind of higher energy. It's why royalty always wore purple, because it's that vibration of a higher energy. The crown chakra is the purple lilac chakra. So this is seen as royalty. So it could also be to do with here, like something being offered, but we don't know that whatever it is that is being offered to us is actually going to be beneficial. Is actually going to be something that is going to give us what we need. Bring us to a place of stability. Three of Wands, creative fire energy, passion, driving energy, with the Three of Pentacles as well, but it also has the Temperance card in reverse. So the Three of Pentacles is about teamwork. It's about things coming together. Like for me, this is coming together again as like a community type of energy of working together to achieve something. Whereas this is more for me the kind of old paradigm energy, shall we say. It's also coming through in this sense of us kind of realising, like, anyway, going back to this World card, kind of realising that everybody is equal. No matter where they come from, who they are, what they do. There's a sense of kind of equality and balance here as well, because it's two threes. And with the Temperance card in reverse, there's a sense of imbalance. So that's really interesting. And I'd say that this is very much that imbalance of energy here. Temperance can also be a card of, like here, as I was talking about with this Ace of Cups energy, of this cup, giving it to ourselves here. Because temperance talks about a relationship, being in a relationship. She's the energy that is about flow, balance, and it could be again relationship with ourselves rather than relationships with others, but it could also be a sense of working through things. Of bringing something into balance. Of balance being needed. We also see the same energy here as well in this star. If you see there, there's this rainbow. Energy here. Which is also showing up here in this. And the rainbow was always seen as a sign of like auspicious. After the storm, the rainbow would come out, the sun would shine, things would clear. So for me, it's kind of saying we're not there yet. Because the silver and the gold cup as well represent that dynamic of the masculine and the feminine, which we're kind of seeing here as well. But it's like a bringing it together. It's like mixing again. It's mixing this gold and the silver energy together, the masculine and the feminine, the sun and the moon. Bringing it together to create something. Sorry, that wasn't upside down. To create something new. Three of Pentacles is a card of working with others, teaming up with others, which is why I feel that it's kind of this community energy of things changing, things going from this old dynamic of kind of being like boss and employee type of thing, or somebody having more authority or appearingly more important because of who, or because of the dynamic of the family they were born into. There's this sense of things shifting. It just feels like things are shifting. But it's kind of still ongoing, like there's still things that are yet to be gone through until we kind of get to this point of realizing that nobody is of more value or of more importance or has the right to be more so than anybody else. And again, it's coming back to that kind of like, you know, that sense of it's my karma. It's up to me to take responsibility. It's up to me to take the risks if I want to take risks or not take risks. What you see as a risk, I may not see as a risk. That kind of thing. And vice versa. But it's down to the individual person. But I also feel that that is what is going to bring on these kind of community-orientated energies. Because this could also be talking about the divide as well, at this time as well. There is this divide that is taking place. And I have spoken about this in most of my astrology write-ups as well, about how this dividing or division of energy is mostly due to how we vibrate, our vibrational level of understanding. The energy that we vibrate on is where we are going to, what we are going to be attracted to, what we're going to attract to us. So I also find it interesting, we've got 5 cards in the top energy here in our heads, and we've got 5 in the subconscious level here as well. So quickly going to see. Here we have the Princess of Discs over the top of this world and the Hierophant energy. Princess of Discs. And it's earth energy. Environment. Young energy, growing. It feels like a growth. Like all these new branches that are coming out here, like something new is growing out of all of this energy. Out of all the kind of difficulties and the hardships. And again, she's carrying like with this yin and yang she's got on her shield there. That again is this female masculine energy that is in this card here. So it feels like new kind of branches, kind of branching out in different areas of life in different ways than we have done before. And that could have also something to do with this scroll here, which is being shown to us and yet at the same time hasn't been revealed. Which could represent new technologies, things that are going to change our environment and our world for us, things that about our past history maybe. But again, it feels like that balance of the yin and yang over the top of the world card as well, as I was saying. It's like this sense of balance, of finding because the yin yang literally talks about the masculine and the feminine being within each other, like with the dark and the light, all the opposites, that you have to have one to have the other. Also talks about duality as well. So let's see. Oh, okay. Let's see what's going on in our heads. Again, too many cards, but never mind. 7 of Cups, which to me, it's in reverse. It says debauch, and I can see the 7 of Cups as being a kind of wallowing energy, a sense of kind of wanting someone else to fix our problems. Is how it's coming through for me today, kind of like just stuck in the emotions, wallowing in the depths of it all. Because it's all kind of too much. And then we have, after that, we have the Nine of Cups. So that's literally going from like a seesaw of energy, going from one extreme to the other extreme. So the 9 is all about fulfillment, in a way, kind of our happiness, our dreams, our hopes, our wishes, all being highlighted and shown to us, the potential, the possibilities, receiving. And the Three of Wands again, which we have up here. In this card it talks about virtue, and it's in reverse. It's a fire energy. It's very hot-headed energy is what I'm feeling here. It's an energy of, as I was saying with the Three of Wands here, risk-taking, but also of kind of leaping into things too quickly when it's in reverse. Of not thinking things through. And we have the High Priestess as well. And she is kind of saying at this time we really do need to look on a deeper level. High Priestess can also connect with like the dream world, the subconscious realm. For me, she's an energy of kind of an innocent, looking at things with innocent eyes. And she's kind of covered in this net as well, which is quite interesting. She's holding up this net, which has all this stuff in the bottom of it. It's like all captured in the bottom of it. And again, it feels like, you know, where do you put your focus of your attention? Is it down here or is it up here? Is it where kind of the secrets and the mysteries lie, which are not easy to get to? Or is it down here where kind of things are like out in the open, in the sense of like, you know, you can have this, you can have that. Like the material goodie kind of world. Goodies as in like goodies, gems, and you know, all the things that are supposed to feed you on some level. But it's like, you know, what about this energy up here? What about the soul level up here? Is that also being fed? Is that also being looked after, taken care of? How many people are even aware of its existence? And there is a connection here with the moon as well, with the High Priestess. It's kind of similar energy to things kind of being kept hidden and secrets. But with the moon, it's more about our emotions. And with the High Priestess, it's more about, like, it feels like soul growth in a way. Like the mysteries of life, the true mysteries. What's hidden behind the veil is actually what's coming through here. Do you want to go behind the veil to see what's there? Are you willing, or do you have the strength and the seek it out, to find it? I'm kind of It's saying there is so much more to life than what we see, and what we can feel and taste and touch and understand on that kind of more mundane level of existence, if you like. So let's see why the Two of Pentacles is here. In a way also as well, I'm just going to say with the Seven of Cups, there can also be this kind of, like saying, victim, wallowing kind of energy here. And so it's also kind of saying to me, you know, if you want to change that, if you want the happiness and everything goes along with it, you know, it's kind of stop being this energy and look deeper within yourself. Become, again, it's that energy of like, become your own what's the word I'm looking for? No, it's not the word boss, although it keeps coming into my head. Become the master of your destiny in many ways. Become your teacher. Become your own teacher. Beyond everything else. That is too many and I'm not taking them. Far too many. Yeah, kind of like, are you ready to lift up that veil and see what is really, truly hidden beyond just the senses, the physical senses? This is talking about the intuition and the instinctual and for me, it's a kind of connecting with this divine energy of the universe is how it's coming through. And so we have the Seven of Swords over this Two of Pentacles energy, and the Seven of Swords is saying it's all futile. There's futility here. And there could also be a sense of self-deception with this energy, a sense of like, you know, we've been deceived, or we've allowed ourselves to be deceived, or we've deceived ourselves in something here, in believing something here. Because the Seven of Swords, you see, it's got this one sword here, and all these other swords are kind of pointing inwards at it. So it's kind of being, what's the word? Kind of being focused on. Like this sword here in the centre is our energy, us, again, possibly collectively, but there's all this kind of outside influence. And so like if you were in a sword fight, for instance, if you were this middle sword and you had like these 6 other swords all attacking you at once, you know, it could just feel like, you know, a futile attempt to try and battle your way through this. There's too much. It would be like, you know, you might be able to get through 2 or 3, possibly 4, but by the time you get to that, you're going to be exhausted, and you know, you've still got another 3 or 4, depending. Like, how good a swordsman you are. But the point I'm trying to make is that it just feels as though, almost like, you know, I might as well just give up before I even start. What is the point? When there's all this interference and there's everybody, it's also kind of coming through as like everybody else knowing better, or thinking that they know better at the very least. And also that you don't have that. With the Two of Pentacles, you don't any longer have that kind of, you know, it's like, what is the point of trying to keep going? What is the point of me trying to keep this going off, like keeping it up, running, getting it up off the ground even? For some people, they may have got to the point where they've been there and done it, and now they've lost it, and they're just thinking, what is the point? And the world is kind of in that stage, I feel, at this time as well. It all seems very futile and pointless, and there's too much to deal with, too much to cope with. Like I was saying, too many other people's opinions, points of view, ideas, all being pointed at us. Knight of Cups in reverse. Over the top of this energy again. The Knight of Cups twice. So it does feel like this energy of just, you know, of what we want, of wanting this, wanting to be able to love freely, wanting to be able to give our cup where we want to give it, to who we want to give it to. But there's like this blockage. Oh, the Wheel of Fortune here as well. It could well be like a sense of, like, we don't have control over it. As I was saying earlier, the sense of like, you know, we are that the victim type energy up here. And I've heard it many times before, actually. I've often heard people say, oh, you know, I can't do anything about it, so what's the point? I can't change it, I can't do anything about it. And I feel that that's that kind of the futility of it as well, but also a kind of acceptance of just being on the outside of that wheel and actually not having any control over our own lives. And kind of just settling into that, you know, that's how it is kind of energy. That's just how it is. I just have to accept it. It's just the way things are. And if I don't like it, there's nothing I can do about it. That kind of feeling. But also a lot of emotion around it all as well. With the Knight of Cups twice, there's a lot of emotion. And the Scorpio full moon, of course, is in a water sign, so there is a lot of emotion. Kind of, it's feeling like this is almost like a tsunami of emotion, like overwhelmingly emotional situation that we're coming from. Also, with Mars in Cancer as well, there is this overwhelming, like, feeling strongly about things at this time. But again, just this feeling possibly of we can't do anything about it. Because we also have the abundance card in reverse over the top of the star, which is that star of hope. So in reverse, it's the Three of Cups, it's reconciliation, it's about, for me, the Three of Cups talks about taking something a step further. But here I'm seeing it as this energy of it's kind of similar to this energy here, with this kind of sense of things not going the way we want them to, like on an emotional level. It's like when we try to do the right thing, it doesn't seem to work out in the way that we want it to. When we try to stay optimistic and above the negative kind of shit here that we're having to deal with as this energy comes in, it's like it's like kind of overwhelming, like I was saying, this tsunami of emotion is how this card's coming through for me. Overwhelming amount of energy, or sorry, emotion, energetically, emotionally, but it's almost like a release, like a pouring out of tears rather than joy and happiness, which is what this card should be, celebrating something joyful, happy about a situation. This feels more like an overwhelming kind of sense of flood of emotion, like a release of big emotions. Almost like something could trigger it, could trigger that emotional release point in a way. A bit like, you know, the straw that breaks the donkey's back, like, you know, it will carry stuff and carry stuff and carry stuff until eventually it kind of can't take any more, just collapses. It kind of feels a bit like that. It's kind of like, you know, all of it kind of overwhelm. It's going to trigger this kind of tsunami of released emotion. Particularly as I feel that, you know, people really on the whole do not know what is happening in the world. They're kind of, they live in this kind of almost like matrix, like this is the matrix part of the world that people are happy to live in, and this is what they understand, but behind the scenes there's a lot more going on that they don't see. They don't look behind the veil, as I was saying, because they don't want to see it, they don't want to, so they're kind of happy in this kind of lower realm. So why is the Eight of Swords here, please? The Knight of Discs. Knight of Pentacles, Knight of Discs. Slowest knight in the deck. purely because he's very practical, very down to earth, very grounded, very traditional, very, what's the word I'm looking for, like very matter of fact about things. Takes his time in general. And it feels here as well, if you see with his shield, there's literally like this force field coming off of this shield. Like all this energy around here, almost kind of like a protection somehow. And it's come out over the Eight of Swords. Like this card of being stuck between a rock and a hard place, not knowing what to do, feeling that we ourselves have kind of trapped ourselves in a way, having to listen to all these kind of outside voices. But it feels like with this Knight of Discs, it's like something that is shielding, literally protecting. Like a protective element here, protective quality. It could also be that it could be like it's going to take some time to get to this point, but we will reach this point of this protective vibrational, it feels like a vibrational, it's kind of that sense of strength, inner strength. If you look here, he looks very strong in this, in his stance and in his, the way he's sitting on his horse. He's very upright, very strong. He looks very sure of himself. Like he's dotted all the I's, he's crossed all the T's, he's got all the facts. He's been on a long journey of discovery, the Knight of Discs. He's been on a long journey. A long journey looking for the truth is how it's coming through. In order to be able to shield himself and protect himself from the outside sources that want to belittle and force our hand by telling us we don't have a choice. You must, like here with this card, this authoritarian figure, like you must do as you're told, you must behave yourself, like this little, like, you know, they're okay, like a little kid being told by an angry parent here that you have to do this, you have to. And if you don't do it, I'm going to be really angry with you. If you don't do it, I'm going to be really cross. And then it's like with this card here, because here he's unprotected, literally. Even by what he's wearing, he's unprotected. But in this card, he's got all like this shield and all this armour. So it's like being armoured and shielded with the truth. is how it's coming through. Because he's been on this long journey, he's discovered things for himself, he's found out a lot of things that were not necessarily what he was being told was real. So we have the Five of Swords, which is defeat, and we have the Ace of Cups here as well. So what's coming through for me more than anything else at the time with this Five of Swords here in the shape of a pentacle is that when it's upside down, for me it talks about, I'm going to put this and get this right so that you can understand what I'm trying to say here. Right, okay, so when it's up the right way, this is like mastery over our physical domain. But it's all kind of flowing. It's like connecting it all together, but coming from a place of kind of knowing that we're connected to this energy, this source energy. So it's like this source energy coming through us to help us create this physical domain that we're in. But when it's in reverse, it's like a sense of this being taken out of the picture, and so we are our own, like we become, what's the word? We become like sourceless or godless. It's kind of, you know, don't have to answer to anybody type of energy is what I'm picking up from this. We become what's the word I'm looking for? Disconnected. It's like we believe that we have control or the right to do what we want over the over our domain, regardless of the damage that we may cause in the process of doing it, because we've disconnected ourselves from this energy here, kind of universal energy, which is how I'm seeing this card today, which is both without and within us. But when we kind of disconnect from that, there's a sense of coming from something that's not like it's not of a higher vibration. It's sort of like it's very low vibration. It's very much about control over the world domination, domination of people, that kind of energy. And it's over the top of this Ace of Cups as well. So it is like life but without love. It's like removing this, the same kind of energy, without love, which we've all kind of been on some level held back from, like with all this distance between us as well, like, you know, don't get close, don't touch, don't, it's all very kind of this energy. So it's all very, it feels very fragmented and very disorientated and very like discordant and very like it's not flowing energy in a way. It's like there's something missing, something's missing from it, something that kind of holds it all together and connects it all isn't there, whether however that works for each individual. There's a sense of it being like causing a lot of chaos, like a chaotic energy. And love is coming out quite a bit in this reading. With the Prince of Swords. Sorry, the Princess of Swords and the Princess of Cups. Over the top of the Nine of Wands in our hopes and our fears. Princess of Swords. It kind of goes for me similar with this discordant energy here, this kind of disharmony, this energy of possibly kind of creating a lot of our own problems, our own issues, our own, because it's swords, it's the mind. And the Princess of Swords would relate to the Page, so it's young energy, it's an energy of curiosity, it's an energy of not having the maturity behind us to really understand the bigger picture, the okay, also the damage that we can do. Like, it feels like children, like this energy here. Children that have not been allowed to mature, or because there's two of them here as well. It could also be to do with the damage that it is going to have on the children and the generations that are going to come from this. Because it is in our hopes and our fears. And it is about trying to move forward, move beyond into those calmer waters that are ahead of us here. but this fear is also kind of holding us back and stopping us from being able to get to there. And also, again, as I was saying, like holding on to that past energy and wanting to kind of recreate it or bring it with us. There's also a, like here with this, she's holding this turtle in a shell, in its shell. So it's in a shell, in its own shell. This turtle, or I presume it's a turtle, it looks like a turtle, being water. And that's coming through for me as this kind of gift of creation or of children themselves. Like they are a gift. But what we're doing at this time with this Princess of Swords energy here as well is just, it just feels like this really kind of confusing, a bit like this star energy in a way. All this stuff to deal with is kind of how it's coming through, like just being bombarded with all this stuff to deal with. And not knowing what's coming next. Also with the Nine of Wands as well, with the ship kind of bashing off these rocks here, because this is a hope and a fear. It could also be related to kind of something sinking, like a sinking ship, sinking treasure, sinking, like, you know, kind of going under the waves. Like being taken under is how it's feeling, like kind of trying to survive in this kind of turmoil at this time, all this kind of emotional turmoil, and just it just feels like the damage that's being done here. That there's too much to cope with, too much to deal with, too much to take on. Yeah, because there's all these gems as well on her dress here. This white kind of folded material is her dress. And it is covered with all these gems. He's kind of saying to me, you know, this is a gift, precious, something precious. don't lose sight of that within all the chaos that's around us at this time as well. With everything else that's happening. Don't lose sight of how important it is for the children, for our children to be taken care of, recognised. How much they are going through at this time as well. How difficult it is for them. And also with the Nine of Wands, how much we just want it to be over. We just want to get to that safety. But there's also this element of, you know, which route are we prepared to go to take that, to get to that safety. Possibly also what this Three of Wands up here is saying as well, is what we are being offered actually worth taking. We have the Queen of Swords, which has come out over the top of this energy here. Queen of Swords in reverse. Similar to the Temperance energy for me in a way. Queen of Swords, ruled by air signs, ruled by the mind, the logic, has to make sense. She can be very cold, very calculating, particularly when she's in reverse. She can be very precise, very laser beam type of focus, knowing what she wants, what she doesn't want, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. It's interesting because there's this little head poking out above the top of her head as well. I don't know if you can see that very well, which kind of looks like a child to me. And she also has in her hand here a, where are we? You can see it. She's got a sword in that hand, but in this hand she's actually got like a head or a mask, and it's in reverse, so it could well be saying about like falseness, about things not being real. Again, this kind of sense of wearing a mask or false sense of identity, things not appearing as to be as you think they are, as I was also saying with this moon energy as well. Things not being clear, a lot of rhetoric, a lot of like too much communication, like too much information. Again, this kind of sense of overwhelm, too much data, too much yeah, like just too much like media coverage and that kind of thing, like just too much to make sense out of it all. with that Temperance card there as well, in reverse. So that's kind of how it's coming through with this. It's like the Queen energy. It doesn't have to be the female. It's not necessarily talking just about female energy. It's the fact that there's a queen on there, or a female on there. It's coming through as a sense of, again, like harshness, like something like kind of sharp and barbed and that in a sense we're kind of trusting. It's in reverse, so there's a sense of us not wanting to trust this energy. And it's also kind of saying to me, look again, look behind the veil, look behind the mask, look behind the, you know, the persona that you see, and kind of, you know, take note of what you maybe don't want to see. But I just see this little head down here kind of coming through as this like childlike innocent energy that is kind of being like hidden, or yeah, like hidden, like this energy like of not of being held back emotionally, as well as kind of like intellectually as well. And it's coming through with the sense of, again, the children and what the children are going through and experiencing at this time. And how much trust a child has in those that it kind of looks up to and trusts, believes in, wants to also, like, you know, that form of protection as well, you know, trusts to be taken care of and looked after and protected. But this feels like a bigger energy, like with the Queen of Swords. This feels like a swords to do with communication, media. Yeah, and it's that sense of, like, you know, it's similar to what I was saying here as well. If you don't do as you're told, if you don't behave. But there's another element to this as well, like the damage that is being done, like willingly in a way as well, because not seeing the bigger picture, not seeing things clearly, not having all the information, not knowing everything, acting out of a place of lack of knowledge or understanding. But it's like it's going to have a bigger knock-on effect, is how it feels. Like the effect of that will be much longer lasting. Well, so I am going to very quickly finish this reading because it has been going on for a long time now. It's a big read, big energy, at this time. Scorpio, supermoon, full moon. Okay, we have Archangel Michael, trusting heaven. You are safe, angels stand close. Surrender your concerns and allow a miracle to occur. Archangel Michael is that sword of truth. So trusting heaven. Archangel Michael, or Saint Michael, is one of the 4 major archangels in the Abrahamic religion. His twin flame is faith. He is loved all over the world because he is the patron saint of protection. He wields, that's also what I was talking about here with this protection. Definitely got a strong sense of protection come through. He wields a bright sword of light to help us to detach from dramas. Challenges our fears. Challenges all fears. His name means he who is like God, and his fiery presence helps awaken our leadership skills and reminds us that we have the capacity to connect with heaven. If challenges are present in your life, call on Michael to bring his sword of light to energetically disconnect you from what's no longer serving you. Your angel team is with you now. You are not in this alone. You may be feeling sensitive or overwhelmed, but your angels are inviting you to take a step back so that they can come in and share their light of miracles. You may feel that your prayers aren't heard, but that doubt blocks solutions from entering your life. Know that Archangel Michael and his legion of angels are here to help clear anything that's not serving you, so that you can allow in the miracles of change that you deserve. So Archangel Michael is a pretty powerful energy for truth, trusting the bigger energy, the source energy, which is what I was feeling with this here. So I hope that this reading has helped. I hope that it's made some sense to you. I hope that you've got something out of it. If you have, please could you thumbs it up for me. I know it's a really long reading, so I'm going to just cut this short. Say, please, if you haven't subscribed, to my channel already, could you also do that as well? Tap the bell and it will let you decide as to whether or not you want the readings. Each time I put them out, full moon, new moon, tarot and astrology and all of the zodiac signs. Playlist is there as well if you're interested in finding out more. And I'm just going to leave it at that and say thank you very much to those of you who have watched this video and have taken the time to find out what it's all about. I wish you all the best and hope you have a incredible full moon in Scorpio. It is going to be really powerful. So my video yesterday, I got 2 cards. I got the Coyote card and I got a Laughter card as well. So I will just say that if things get really intense and really overwhelming, maybe find something where you can laugh at it, watch some comedy or just laugh at yourself and the craziness of it all that's going on around you. But laughter seemed to be the kind of medicine that was being recommended yesterday. So if you haven't watched my video for yesterday, you can check that out as well. Thank you very much and take good care of yourselves. Hopefully see you again.